What is up, guys? Welcome to the transparency. Let's talk about it. Brian Koberger put in an alibi. The mainstream media people went ham over it. So let's talk about it. I don't know why anybody would only read a sentence of somebody's motion and just run with it. But that is par for the course for this case, but for a lot of cases. I mean, but I want to remind everybody of what was filed back on July 24th, 2023. This is what Anne said. So let's see if she stuck to her word. So Mr. Koberger notes that Idaho code, and he gives it, preserves his constitutional right to silence as well as to testify on his own behalf. Mr. Koberger stands firm on his constitutional right as well as on the statutory recognition of that right. Noteworthy is that an alibi, in quotes, indicates a line of proof by which the defendant attempts to show that he could not have committed the crime of which he is accused because he was elsewhere at the time. Okay. Then a defendant's denial of the charges against him does not constitute an alibi. But as soon as he offers evidence that he was at some place other than where the crime of which he is charged was committed, he is raising the alibi defense. Mr. Koberger's defense team continues investigating and preparing his case. Evidence corroborating Mr. Koberger being at a location other than the King Road address will be disclosed pursuant to discovery and evidentiary rules, as well as statutory requirements. It is anticipated this evidence may be offered by way of cross-examination of witnesses produced by the state, as well as calling expert witnesses. So this is what Ann Taylor said back in and through his lawyer in July of 2023. Then let me come here forward to this alibi, and just nobody can get past the amazingness of Ann Taylor here when she wants to talk about giving, the proper background and things of that nature. But all that mainstream media wants to talk about is Brian Koberger was stargazing. Do you understand that all Ann Taylor could have said was Brian Koberger is at a different location at the time of the crime? Here's our expert witness that's going to testify to that, period. Do you want to know why I think Ann Taylor did not do that? Because Ann Taylor continues every single day to show that her team and her client cannot get a fair trial. Constantly are being biased and prejudiced in the media. Let's take a look at it. Again, welcome everybody. Thank you, moderators, members, subscribers, all y'all. Welcome. Here we go. Brian Koberger alibi. Idaho murder suspect was driving on night of killing. Brian Koberger says he was driving near Wawawi Park on the night of the student's murder. Attorney for Brian Koberger files alibi defense. Idaho student killing suspect Brian Koberger alibi. The moon and stars. Here it is.
So if I asked my teenager where he was last night, and he said to me, I was out driving around alone all night with my phone switched off.
Well, then, first of all, you would check your Life 360 app, wouldn't you, and see if your son, in fact, had his phone turned off, because the Life 360 app would notify you that the phone was either turned off. It actually gives like specific things as to why you're unable to have contact with that phone, such as your phone battery died. But continuing on.
Didn't interact with a single person. Let's just say it would be the beginning of our conversation. It would not be the end of it.
But it would be the end of it once you saw that you looked at some digital evidence and saw that your kid was in fact where he said he was, because there's an expert that knocked on your door and said, hey, you're being a little too hard on your kid. You know, that spyware you wanted me to use on your kid? Well, I used it, and just so you know, he was actually telling you the truth. Here's the coordinates. Here you go. So what now?
But that's exactly what Brian Koberger told an Idaho court tonight by way of an alibi for the murders of 4 university students in their off-campus house. And I'm going to read you word for word some of the latest filing, but I want to get Richard Block in here with me. He's a criminal defense attorney, practices in...
All right, so let's go ahead and see where she reads word for word anything. When she says, I'm going to read you word for word. So when does she read you anything word for word? And she brings in a criminal defense attorney who actually puts her well in her place, but...
Idaho. So, Richard, this happened late this evening Eastern time, and I want to read exactly what Ann Taylor filed with the court, because the judge pushed when they said they would file an alibi and said he was out driving around. The judge said, more details, please. And this is what Ann Taylor filed regarding Brian's habit of nighttime driving. Quote, after the school year began, Mr. Koberger was busy with classes and work at Washington State University, and his running and hiking.
So why is anybody right there asking, ooh, I wonder what his work was at WSU? He was busy with classes and work. Nobody's done a live about that yet. Oh, I wonder what Brian's work was.
Decreased, but did not stop. Instead, his nighttime drives increased. This is supported by data from Mr. Koberger's phone, showing him in the countryside late at night and or in the early morning on several occasions. The phone data includes numerous photographs taken on several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November, depicting the night sky. Mr. Koberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did, to hike and run and or see the moon and the stars. He drove through the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawahi Park. So, Richard Block, just...
Oh, wait a second. That's not everything that Ann Taylor said. So I guess we're going to stop right there. So you said that you were going to write, or you were going to say everything word for word what Ann Taylor said. That's just not what Ann Taylor said. But let's see. Like, why would you cut off the rest of it? Why wouldn't you be curious of who gives a shit what he was doing, wasn't doing? The same evidence that you were trying to convict him on is now the very same evidence that you are laughing at, which is the digital evidence. Make that make sense to me. That's just wild to me.
Reaction to that as a lawyer.
So obviously it's not the strongest alibi we've ever heard, right? It's not, I was at the Dodge and here's the video. But it's not as weak as it sounds. You got to remember a couple things. First of all, the night sky in Idaho is terrific. There's reasons people come out here to go see the sky. We have craters of the moon out here. It's really great. And second, we've got a little bit of cooperation here. We have the photos from his phone that they're telling us that they have, including him taking pictures of the night sky in November. So this is apparently something he does. The second part of that I think is really interesting is later in that filing is when they're talking about how much evidence they don't have, because they don't have all the stuff off the phone, which may show more of this.
Oh, wait.
It's not as weak as it sounds.
Wait, so you mean the part that she left out? The part that she left out? You mean the part where you said, "Hey, Ashley Banfield, you said you were going to read everything word for word for me, but you didn't." And here you just didn't think that I was going to look at the document before I came live with you. So he's going ahead and pointing out, oh, the thing I think is interesting.
Don't have, because they don't have all the stuff off the phone. It's apparently something he does. The second part of that I think is really interesting is later in that filing.
Later in that filing,
how much evidence they don't have, because they don't have all the stuff off the phone, which may show more of this. So it's not as weak as it sounds right off the bat. It's not the greatest explanation.
You're so good at your job. You are really good at. If I ever murder someone, I'm hiring you. But I do want to say this. I've been out late at night a lot as well. And I'm not worried about someone calling me and interrupting my stargazing at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't see a need to turn my phone off exactly in the hour that those students were murdered. And one of the other propensities he has is to drive around ogling that house. Because
wait a second. I just have to back this all the way up. She lets him know that he's really good at his job.
Show more of this. So it's not as weak as it sounds right off the bat. It's not the greatest explanation.
You're so good at your job. You are really good at. If I ever murder someone, I'm hiring you. But I do want to say this.
That's her comment. That's her comment to this is, that's her comment. Wow. If she ever murders somebody, she's going to hire him because he's explaining what the second part was that you didn't even read to him.
Say this. I've been out late at night a lot as well. And I'm not worried about someone calling me and interrupting my start.
Why are you talking about something that's not even in there? No, but who is saying that anybody shut off phones or anything like this? I mean, what the heck? What is this? Why aren't you talking about the actual rest of it, which is what's putting Brian Koberger out there and who's going to be testifying to it? And the fact that this is exactly what Ann Taylor said they were going to do. And the reason that you have to wonder why Ann Taylor, hey, you guys need to get me this stuff so that my expert can go ahead and look at the stuff that you're claiming he's elsewhere, but you won't give us the stuff that my expert can be like, where are they getting this from? You know, because you're only giving us pieces and nibbles and, you know, my experts over here saying what? I know for a fact that they have this stuff, or if they didn't attempt to go and get this stuff, then there's a huge problem. Okay. So, again,
at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't see a need to turn my phone off exactly in the hour that those students were murdered. And one of the other
she is still pushing a narrative here with nobody even talking about the fact that who is saying that anybody has anything off. This is just, I mean, this is really bothersome because you're not even talking about why aren't you talking about the alibi? The alibi is that you guys are digitally putting him somewhere else, or you guys are putting him at the murder site, crime scene. And here his alibi is that he has an expert that blows away Payne, who's a police officer and who's not an expert in this field, who's putting him on this happy-go-lucky round loop-de-loop out in outer space little path. And who's putting him out there is a two-year-old police officer who was a patrol cop. Okay, that's what's in the PCA, and that this expert who designed tons of software, he's only ever testified on the behalf of prosecution in terms of with police and things like that. And this is the first time that he is, in fact, not testifying in that capacity. He feels some type of way, but it's amazing that I have no idea. People want to say, Lana, you cut off your guests. I guess I learned from Ashley Banfield. Because this is an oxymoron. We want to tell you guys that digital evidence puts Brian Koberger all around God's creation. But in the moment that he says that, well, digital evidence actually puts me over here, the only thing you want to talk about is none of that. You want to say that on the night of the murders and during the murders, he was stargazing. That's not even what she said. That's not even what she gave off 3 different things that he would go and do over there. Okay. And for everybody to go and run with this, that's either denial or that's desperation. And either of the two, it smells like shit and looks stupid.
Other propensities he has is to drive around.
The only people that I will let be desperate and in denial are parents, traumatized people. But I won't let educated people be in this capacity.
Ogling that house because they have plenty of digital evidence from his phone that pinged him at or around that house multiple times in the 3 to 4 months prior to those murders. Isn't that a little bit troublesome and sort of also diminishes this?
Again, everything that she is, how does something diminish his, listen to what she says here. I cannot believe that they let her talk for their broadcast. Listen to what she says, that based on him being possibly, let's even say that he was at the house 12 times. She says that diminishes his past behavior. So Jack D being over at that house would diminish his alibi. Your alibi, if your alibi is your alibi and you can corroborate it with digital evidence or another person, or, I mean, shit, I would think digital evidence is way stronger in 2024 than people are, because people lie. But listen to this right here. Listen to this just absolute sentence of craziness.
Around that house multiple times.
Here you go.
Ogling that house because they have plenty of digital evidence from his phone that pinged him at or around that house multiple times in the 3 to 4 months prior to those murders. Isn't that a little bit troublesome and sort of also diminishes this adorable story?
Well, we obviously don't know how strong all that is.
I mean, does she ever listen to what what is that story? Wait, what is that sentence? Wait, him doing something, even actually, you know what, this, I'll give it to you. We'll go ahead and say Brian Kober was at that house 12 times. Don't you think that him being there 12 times before just diminishes his alibi? Excuse me. How does that have anything to do with this? How does 12 times have anything to do with November 12th into the 13th? It doesn't diminish anything. Because that, okay, let's bring in all the friends then again. You guys were over here 132 times. You guys were pinging in this, the past 132 days. You guys have pinged on around this house 132 times every single day for the past 132 days. But guess what? We see you we see that you board a plane and that you're over in a different country or you're in a different state. But you know what? You being there 132 days, that diminishes that your phone puts you at an airport or puts you wherever, puts you in watching the damn stars. I mean, that sentence, yes, Emma, powerful propaganda. Yes, that's all it is, Mike Joplin. It is propaganda. And you know what? I don't know if it's the person who is weak speaking, okay? Because then I see other things and you want to go gung-ho and have the back of like Riley Strain and his parents, right? Right? So, but you don't want, because you're fighting for truth in that case. But you don't want to be over here fighting in this case and having like, why isn't the integrity of who you are or whatever it is that you stand for, why isn't it seen no matter what the case is and that's who you are? Like, if you see something, say something. But this is now a story. It went from being like, this is his alibi to, you know, his nice little story. And y'all missed the plot. Y'all missed the plot. The plot is not it's not where he was. It's that a expert in this field is going to place him somewhere else during the time of the crimes. Does that not, like, how do you not say that when you're going to cover this? What the hell is wrong with you people? And when I say you people, not you people in chat, you guys are the best. Shouldn't this headline say Bryan Kohberger in a different state at the time of the crime? Expert witness says Bryan Kohberger in a different state at the time of the crime. I mean, you know when you're little and somebody says, okay, you're going to take a quiz on this book that you're going to read. And the book is only 1 page. Okay. So we're going to read just a 1-page little 2 or 3 paragraph book. And we're going to ask you some questions to see if you can comprehend what it is that you just fucking read. So we read a little 2 or 3 page paragraph that we're taught when we're little. And we read it and then they ask us questions like, what color was Mary's shirt? Blue. It said it was blue in there. Okay, blue. Where did Mary go on a walk with her dog? What is Mary's dog's name? Because you read it all. Okay. And so I feel like Ashley Banfield and the rest of these people, when giving a test like that, I don't think that they could pass. Because they would read the first 2-3 sentences and not read the rest, or they would read it all, and better yet, do this. I am going to read word for word what Ann Taylor said. No, you didn't. That's a flat out lie. That's a lie. Okay. So here, instead of you actually putting up the document to show the actual physical document, okay, you instead put up your nice little advertising, IT graphics person that just wrote this up for you. And you put this shit up there instead of just, why don't you just put this up there? Put the paper up. Here you go. Boom. And then you turn the page and but here, I'm going to read word for word what Ann Taylor, this is what she says.
Mr. Kohberger was busy. Ann Taylor filed. Richard, this happened late this evening Eastern time, and I want to read exactly what Ann Taylor filed with the court because the judge pushed when they said they would file an alibi and said he was out driving around.
You guys, can somebody please clip this part?
Exactly what Ann Taylor filed. And I want to read exactly what Ann Taylor filed with the court because the judge.
No, can somebody please just keep clipping and cutting and pasting and just put that all out there? I wonder, do you understand that anybody that would actually watch this shit would think that that's all that Ann Taylor said? That's not what Ann Taylor fucking said. And then all you have is, oh, sorry. That should help you guys hear it.
Pushed when they said they would file.
There you go. Sorry about that.
And I want to read exactly what Ann Taylor filed with the court because the judge pushed when they said they would file an alibi and said he was out driving around. The judge said, more details, please. And this is what Ann Taylor filed regarding Bryan's habit of nighttime driving. Quote, after the school year began, Mr. Kohberger was busy with classes and work at Washington State University, and his running and hiking decreased, but did not stop. Instead, his nighttime drives increased. This is supported by data from Mr. Kohberger's phone, showing him in the countryside late at night and or in the early morning on several occasions. The phone data includes numerous photographs taken on several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November.
Now, I get it. This is horrible. 4 people were brutally murdered, okay? 4 people brutally murdered. I don't understand. You know when they ask a juror, the juror questions, like if you can't be, like here, wait, hold on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage. So if I...
Stop. Is that really what she still says there?
Button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
You guys, shut the fuck up, man. God bless America. Oh, God. I'm going to read and tell the world what Ann Taylor said word for word. No, you ain't. Number one. Number two, please come and watch us as we're just fact-driven, unbiased coverage. Unbiased my ass. I got Ashley Banfield comes off as a personality A. So how does a personality A like herself just take it? Just take it and be a sheep. How does that happen? You want me to say what? I'm not saying that. If I'm gonna read the whole, here it is, but she's strong personality. So how are you just? I don't understand it. I don't get it. I truly don't get it. It's one thing, yes, there's victims out here. Absolutely. That doesn't mean just because there's victims out here doesn't mean we can go and create more victims. Okay. But you lied right here. That's not all that was said. And then here you have this guy that comes on who is trying to explain it amazingly to you.
Have the photos from his phone that they're telling us that they have, including him taking pictures of the night sky in November. So this is apparently something he does. The second part of that I think is really interesting is later in that filing is when they're talking about how much evidence they don't have because they
see. I need to learn how to do this. Do you understand that he totally just dissed the fuck out of her, but nobody caught it, and he did it in such a way that like he just bashed her. He just said, "Well, later in that filing." What I think is interesting is later in that filing, and see, this is where Ashley was like, God, it looks like I have this defense attorney that's going to come on here and going to back me. No, this defense attorney didn't come on here and back you at all. This defense attorney actually read the document.
In that filing is when they're talking about how much.
Right here. He's like, who cares about what the hell you're talking about? Moon, star size. Who gives a shit?
The second part of that I think is really interesting is later in that filing.
Later in that filing, you know what you just didn't tell us about? Later in that filing?
When they're talking about how much evidence they don't have.
When they're talking about how much evidence they don't have because the prosecution is refusing to provide this. And so when everyone's like, why is he continuing? Why isn't it look kind of weird that Brian Kober needs material in order to come up with the alibi? It's like, well, now it should be perfectly clear. Brian Kober needs to supply this evidence that you're placing him elsewhere through digital evidence. We need that to be provided to us so that we can give it to our expert so that he can say, well, I have no idea how the fuck they came up with this because the stuff that you have provided me, and I can't imagine that Ann Taylor would not want to be providing this expert with everything because the expert's going to continue to keep asking for things. They would have had this with it. There's going to be this. Where's this? Where's that? So then she, in turn, is asking those questions to bad boy backseat, now to the trunk, Bill Thompson. And like, that's how it flows. And he's over here saying, we don't have that. We don't have that. And this guy is over here like, I created this shit. Yes, they do. Or if they don't, there's a problem because then they basically maneuvered their little search warrants like that on purpose or are burying exculpatory evidence because why wouldn't you be turning this over? And
because they don't
have. That's what people aren't understanding is I don't need you to tell me what you have against me. But you're telling me what you have against me, and I want the proof that you say that you have this against me. Provide this to me, because we know it's all bullshit, but I want my expert to be able to, you know, so people aren't understanding that. And they're thinking that Brian's saying, well, give me everything you have and then I'll tell you where I'm at. So you think that Brian Colbert's going to say that he's somewhere that he then can't prove? No, that's not what it's about.
Have all the stuff off the phone, which may show more of this. So it's not as weak as it sounds right off the bat. It's not the greatest explanation.
You're so good at your job. You are really good at. If I ever murder someone, I'm hiring you. But
no, actually, you should hire Ann Taylor, and I think that you would hire Ann Taylor. That's the sad thing.
I do want to say this. I've been out late at night a lot as well, and I'm not worried about someone calling me and interrupting my stargazing at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't see a need.
Now listen, she has to revert now to pure speculation, conjecture, and to try to spin this, because what this guy just did is hand it to her and explain all of this. And now she has to try to spin this because she is really good friends with the Gonsalveses. And that's where she gets all of her information from. Her unbiased, fact-driven, go-get-'em information. And so she needs to spin this. And so how does she spin it? She spins it with lies. She then starts going to these, why do you think that there's this gag order, and why are we asking these questions? Have you read, seen, or heard? Have you read, seen, or heard this? Have you read, seen, or heard that? And Ashley's winking at me right now because she's like, God, you got me. You got me, Leanna. So, and look at what she has to go and spin it with. She has to go and spin it with saying that Brian Colbert shut off his phone. And I've never gone out late driving that I need to shut off my phone so I'm not interrupted. Who said anybody shut off their phone? How, in fact, if Brian Colbert's phone was shut off, is this expert going to be able to testify to a damn thing? Are you not listening? We have an expert that is about to testify to what, Ashley? Do you even know what he's going to testify to? He's going to testify to that Brian Colbert was so many miles away, never went to that area. And how does he feel comfortable testifying? Because of the data. Because he can prove it. Because he knows what it means. And he also knows that there's stuff that's missing that he believes would have been turned over. He knows it's there. And if it's not there, he's saying they didn't preserve it, or they're not turning over because they know it's going to prove something else, which is to help your client. That's called exculpatory evidence. But this is how she turns it.
I need to turn my phone off exactly in the hour that those students were.
So I have to ask you, who told you that Brian Colbert shut off his phone? Oh, well, Officer Payne did in his PCA. No, I believe that Officer Payne said that it could have been no cell network. He could have had his phone off. But nowhere in this PCA is it ever been said that Brian Colbert shut off his phone. So I want to know why this woman is still continuing to push false narratives. Okay, you're pushing false narratives when this is exactly what we are in court for. This is what we're in court for, is these media statements. So anybody that would have had a chance to, hey, you know what's great is, if anybody was in Latah County and cared about having this in Latah County, they would tell people like her to shut the fuck up. Like, help us even this out. Just report as is. Do you not know how to report? Did you never have to stand up in front of your 7th grade class and give a report of the chapter book that you read, and you have to tell people about it? You want to know what this woman would get if she had to give a report on that piece of paper that was filed by Ann Taylor? She'd get a big fat fucking F where I went to school.
Were murdered. And one of the other propensities he has is to drive around ogling that.
Ogling. Can you ogling? Hey, Suri, what the fuck does ogling mean? Hold on one second. You guys, I just want to read ogling for you because I think it's going to be amazing. Ogling definition. Stare at in a lecherous manner. He was ogling her breasts. Ogling. Said best by Ashley Banfield. Ogling. Please spell that. Your word is ogling. I will use it for you in a sentence. He was ogling her breasts. Spell it, please.
At house, because they have plenty of digital evidence from his phone that pinged him at or around that house multiple times in the 3 to 4 months prior to those murders. Isn't that a little bit troublesome and sort of also diminishes this adorable story?
Well, we obviously don't know how strong all that evidence is, just like we don't know how strong the defense's evidence is. We're really, most of the things that
she just said to her audience that because somebody was circling or around or even at somebody's house on 12 prior occasions that have nothing to do with that occasion, but because of that prior history of ogling, that diminishes his alibi that he is elsewhere on actually the day of the murder. I need a Bud Light. I need a Bud Light. To ogle or ogling her feet. You guys. So then I guess we have to bring in Jack D and everybody that these people have dated because your alibis don't matter because you were there 15 times before that. What a complete whack. Oh boy. You know what? We'll do this instead. Now, call me crazy, but he doesn't bite. He doesn't say. He's like, no.
Things that we've heard come from the police, which are incredibly biased source. They never tell the whole story. I don't know how many times.
Okay, so you guys, then I just like love this part. This is my favorite part of the Ashley Banfield show when she doesn't talk.
Most of the things that we've heard come from the police, which are incredibly biased source. They never tell the whole story. I don't know how many times I've seen an affidavit of probable cause that turned out to be misrepresentation after misrepresentation after misrepresentation. So let's take that what they said with a grain of salt. That being said, you know, these are problems in the case. These are things that the defense is going to.
He just said, I've seen so many probable causes that where the PCA is just misrepresentation after misrepresentation after misrepresentation. Okay. And that's everything in this PCA, man. I love, this guy just got a fresh cut. I don't think he's going to be asked back. Okay. So I'm going to get him to come on my show where I'm like, listen, I don't put restrictions. Let's talk about this. I know that Ashley Banfield put you in the corner a little bit, and she only tried to read half of that piece of paper to you. She was trying to trip you up. But you, my friend, you actually were like, if I'm going to go live on this, I need to know this document, that I'm going to be talking about. And you actually read the whole document. So I praise you for that. But Ashley Banfield tried to set you up, son. So why would you ever go back on a show that somebody tried to set you up? I'm going to read what Ann Taylor said word for word. Still waiting. And then this guy just blows up the PCA. You guys know how many PCAs I've read and I've looked at? They're just complete shit. That's what he says. Yeah.
Is going to have to deal with and have to try and explain. Doesn't mean they don't have an alibi, and it doesn't mean it's not important that they let the judge know about this because there's a rule in Idaho that says you have to.
If I were a juror, I wouldn't want a grain of salt. I want a big old bag of salt if I heard that story in that courtroom. I would be mad. I would think about those 4 murders.
And then she talks about the damn jurors. you would be mad if you heard that story. What story? What is the story here? Ashley, Ann Taylor plays you like a fiddle, girl. Ann Taylor is just pushing it and showing. Do you understand that Ann Taylor, all she had to say was the last paragraph of all of that? But she put all of this stuff in because she knew that you guys would take the bait and do exactly what you're doing right now, which is completely bash this man, completely bash her, and literally just focus on that and completely and biasly only cover that portion of it. And I can see through this. Why do you think that Ann Taylor wrote legit? Think about this. If you're Ann Taylor and you're playing a chess game, she keeps setting you guys up. She is in the midst of a change of venue, and she's going to get it, by God. And she should. Mr. Kohlberger moved to Pullman, Washington. Why do you think she told you that story? Because you would do exactly what you did with it. And it's just flat out sickening. But even in the midst of all of this, the stuff that's going on, all the scrutiny, you guys still can't seem to get it. Can't seem to put a damn carrot in your mouth and just cover the facts. Cover the fucking facts. Why aren't you pointing to the fact that, oh, wow, do you see? Oh, my God. They say they have this expert who's actually an expert in pains, not one, and they can put him somewhere else at the time of the crime? Wait, what? Wait, Payne has him literally peeing in Blaine. Blaine. Do you know where this guy has it at? Woo! Woo! I don't get it. I literally don't get it.
Murdered victims, and I would think, is that all you've got? It's just the way people think. But you know what? Shoot for the moon, because they always say, even if you miss, you'll end up in the stars. It's so good of you always to join me. Thank you. Those 4 murdered victims, and I would think, if I were a juror, I wouldn't want a grain of salt. I want a big old bag of salt if I heard that story in that courtroom. I would be mad. I would think about those 4 murdered victims, and I would think, is that all you've got? It's just the way people think. But
Ashley, what in the world do you think that anybody would have at 4 o'clock in the morning for an alibi? You're either going to have that you are sleeping or what? Banging? What? Breaking the law with your frat buddies? Is that all you got? Who the fuck has an alibi at 4 a.m., Ashley? I mean, to hear that when people are like, this is what we waited for. No, guess what you waited for? You waited so that this guy could fill out a piece of paper that says, yeah, I can place Brian Kohlberger all the way up over here, because we had to wait from July of 2023 until this just got filed here in April of 2024. Y'all had to wait this long because Billy fucking backseat Thompson has sat on all this material and is continuing to sit on material. And if you think that this is a bunch of fucking smoke and mirrors, then you are the fool. Ann Taylor's consistency with her representation of Brian Kohlberger is just that, consistent. She said exactly what we need. Get us the discovery that we need. We don't need to know where anybody else is. I need the material that you extracted from Brian's phone, this historical data, that you took Payne and that you did all of this to say that he was over there, so that my expert can be given. He needs the data so that he can then do everything that he needs to do, because you guys didn't go and look a little bit further in what information was available. and how you could tell where Brian Kober was versus, okay, well, if you just go based off of this and you don't look at that other stuff, then you can go ahead and triangulate and say that he's over there. That's how you can get away with it. But if you cough up the rest of the material, it's going to show that why didn't you provide this to the FBI that you consulted with? You understand? That's what's going on here. And Ann Taylor's like, we're going to give you more once you give us more. So I just think this is, and I have to ask this. Why would you say that this would get them better ratings? Don't you think better ratings would be like, don't you think the public would be more interested in like the truth, which would be pretty like, whoa, wow, you know? So I guess that for me is, wouldn't it sell more if you came out and you said, holy shit, Brian Kober has an alibi and it's an expert that's da-da-da, and he can place Brian Kober over here at the time of the murders. So I guess, why do they think that this would make more money? And that's when you have to ask yourself, is it about the money, or is it about the roundabout money that we'll give? Because if you're going to push this narrative, we're going to pay you. You know, hey, we're going to buy a bunch of ad space. Keep talking about this way. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you came out and actually reported the truth, I think that it would blow out of the water what you got 20,000 hits on this, because 20,000 hits ain't shit for the number of fucking subscribers you have if you really want to talk about it. So I guess I don't understand why I would think that the truth would blow this away. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, yeah, the truth sells too. So true. I couldn't watch her today. It makes me sick how she reports. Yeah. And I literally watch it so that I can show like exactly what I'm doing right here. Is how can we possibly get this so wrong? Like, so either I'm wrong and crazy, or Ashley Banfield's wrong and crazy. So I don't know. And then I took one look at Drunk Turkey's fucking, you know, like I said, Daniel, I love you to death. You know that. And I respect him. So I'm allowed to have a difference of opinion. But I took one look at their title of their episode last night, and I said, what in the world are they talking about? I don't even know what to say. And then it's just truly unfortunate. It's just, wow. So, but God bless this guy. He's like, yeah, no, like he didn't agree with her at all. And he basically put her in place. So let's take a look at this. I'm being called crazy and told I need help on a comment you left. Oh yeah, did you guys like what I wrote on Court TV today? I just commented like on everybody's post. I'm like, did you read any of this? Did you just read the title? Yeah. Lana's facts add up. AB's emotions can't do math. I don't know what it is, man, but yeah, I had some comments to make on Court TV because I'm just like, and then they asked me if I was feeling well. And I'm like, no, I must not be drinking enough of the tea that you are. So I don't know. It's just wild. Let me see what else we got here. Again, mainstream media just tanking. Let's see how.
Trials and stories that we are following here, including this one. Fox News posting this just moments ago with breaking that the accused Idaho killer, Brian Koberger, has offered up an alibi. This is quite stunning from a story we have literally covered from the very beginning since November the 13th, 2022, when we got word that those 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed so gruesomely to death in their off-campus home here. So this is what we know. This is breaking at the moment. Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho undergrads in a home invasion stabbing. He offered up an alibi via his attorneys today. This was a court-mandated deadline. Koberger claims he was out driving the night of the killings, November the 13th, 2022. So the alibi says as follows, according to court documents. Koberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did, to hike and run and or see the moon and stars. The document goes on to say he drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawa Park. So that is the latest update. Remember, this is not...
Nobody is talking about this expert in that he just didn't say he was driving. He didn't say anything. This expert is saying where he was. Did anybody report on the facts? Okay, so 2 for 2, down. So 0 for 2 mainstream media. Let's go check another one. Let's go check another one here.
Alibi in the trial. Court documents say that Koberger claims he was driving. He drove that night throughout.
Okay, here we go.
I want to go back now to some breaking news. The suspect in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students has partially outlined his alibi for the morning of the murders.
So we know today was the deadline to file if the defense wanted to be able to use that alibi in the trial. Court documents say that Koberger claims he was driving in the early morning hours on the night of the murders, as he, quote, often did to hike and run and or to see the moon and stars. It goes on to say that he drove that night throughout the area south of Pullman and west of Moscow, including to Wawa Park.
The court documents also show the defense will provide more information about his whereabouts during the murders once it gets the additional evidence it's requested from the prosecution.
Oh my God. 3 for 3. Not a single one. Not a single one has said a word about the fact that Brian Koberger, okay, they are leaving out the biggest part of this alibi. This alibi comes in the form of not Brian Koberger saying this, but that by a decorated expert who could put him there via mobile devices, via radio frequency, via cell towers, via this, via that, everything that he is 100% credited in to be able to testify as an expert. So nobody, 0 for 3, we're 0 for 3. Not a single one of them has said a word about really what was truly offered up. And you want to talk about you want to talk about somebody getting a fair trial? It's a fugazi over here. Brian Koberger's alibi is a fugazi. Let's continue. Let's continue to see the next. So we're 0 for 3, right? 0 for 3. You guys were here for the media, just the media gangbang. So here it is. Koberger pimping. Well, who do we got next? Next up, let's see. Who else just looks like they're just waiting here to talk about this alibi? Brian Koberger, or did we do Fox Seattle? I don't think we did Fox Seattle.
Koberger submitted an official alibi for the night the students were killed. It reads in part, quote, Mr. Koberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run and or see the moon and stars. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawa Park. Koberger's team said they plan to introduce a cell tower expert to show that he never drove along the Moscow-Pullman highway the morning of the murders. No date has been set for his trial.
Wait.
Koberger is next due in
Hold
court
on.
May 14th.
Hold
for a
on.
hearing about
Hold on.
highway the morning.
Wait a second.
Introduce a cell tower expert to show that he never drove along the Moscow-Pullman highway the morning of the murders. No date has been set for his trial, but Koberger is next due in court.
So instead of actually reading word for word about that part, we get a little nibble here And Fox Local Seattle is the first so far to mention, but doesn't read it word for word, but at least gives a mention about this cell tower expert, right? Little nibble. So let's see. Next up. So we're one out of four media stations. Let's see. Next up, who do we got? Let's go down to breaking news. JLR investigates. I'm sorry. Let's go to the Today Show. Okay, let's go on over here to the Today Show. So here we are, the Today Show. What do you got for us? Let's see the ties.
Brian Kohberger's defense strategy. His lawyers revealing in a long-awaited court filing they will offer expert testimony to cast doubt on prosecutors' evidence placing Kohberger near the crime scene. Pointing to his fondness for nighttime drives, his public defender now says that, quote, Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run and or see the moon and the stars. It's the very same defense that the judge appeared skeptical of last year when his public defender first floated it.
So-called alibi, not really an alibi, which suggested that he provided some witnesses that he
Prosecutors allege that Kohberger fatally stabbed Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in their off-campus home near the University of Idaho. Authorities zeroing in on Kohberger using cell phone towers to track the location of his phone, and surveillance video allegedly showing
the same thing that got him arrested, right? Now you have a guy coming forward and saying, I have no idea how they did this. Okay, because they won't give us all the shit. But I can tell you this, with what we do have, he's nowhere near there. He's nowhere near there. And so you have Payne who's not an expert. Okay. And he just does little Tracy lines like Bob Ross did and made us a map. And so to this day, who is not tossed over like what special agent he worked with to do anything. And here the same thing is being done and is being saying like, no, that's not the case. And nobody wants to talk about this. But we got a little nibble here, you know.
A white Hyundai matching his vehicle casing the victim's house on the night of the killings and the morning after.
Again, that car is driving around. It could be selling drugs to any of those students. They're adding that thing into casing this house. God bless America.
State of Idaho versus Brian Kohberger.
In the newly released court documents, Kohberger's legal team now says his phone did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman Highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman Highway. The judge entered a plea of not guilty on Kohberger's behalf, but this morning the case is stalled.
Everybody go give a round of applause to today. Yay, they show the actual documents. First time.
In unresolved pretrial motions with no trial date. Kaylee Gonsalves' family saying in a statement they're frustrated by the delays, while their attorney says it's striking.
Yep, that's all on Bill Thompson, prosecutor. I'd be frustrated with him too.
Just how little information has been shared with the families.
The line of communication between the prosecution and the victim's family, at least for the Gonsalves family, has been very limited. I've never seen it before in my career.
So this alibi, I mean, as the judge said, it's kind of...
Okay, wait, hold on.
Between the...
He says it's striking just how little information has been shared with the families.
The line of communication between the prosecution and the victim's family, at least for the Gonsalves family, has been very limited. I've never seen it before in my career.
So this alibi, I mean, as the judge said, it's kind of not an alibi.
God, Steve, take him. Take the damn university. Take him on. Take him down, man.
It's not in the traditional sense. Oh, I was just someone else.
Right.
Or there are witnesses.
No
who can say
witness,
where I
no new
was.
evidence.
And
Wait,
the-
how are people saying this is not in the traditional sense as far as an alibi? You guys, it is 2024. I don't know how this is not considered. You guys thought it was the nuts when it came out in the PCA, but now when you're talking about it being that, wait a second, the same type of, digital forensic expert data placing him doing all this stuff, now it's not good enough for when it's going to say no, actually that's not, so it's mind-blowing.
And they're not even saying the cell phone records put him somewhere else.
No, they're saying they're going to offer a cell phone expert at trial if they ever get to trial, which will just say that the tower is essentially pinging and registering his cell phone all over that night. And that's why they want to say he has a past history of driving all around so that it doesn't look suspicious. But again, that's not.
Wait a second. I just gave praise to the Today Show, but then now you just go ahead and you trash it by what y'all are talking about.
I mean, as the judge said, it's kind of not an alibi. It's not in the traditional sense. Oh, I was just someone else.
Right.
Or there are witnesses.
No
who can say
witness,
where I
no new
was.
evidence.
And they're not even saying the cell phone records put him somewhere else.
No, they're saying they're going to offer a cell phone expert at trial if they ever get to
exactly
trial,
what
which
it
will
says.
Just say that the tower is essentially.
Wait a second. What? Come on, man. Mr. Colbert intends to offer testimony of Cy Ray, CSLI expert in cell tower, cell phone, and other radio frequency. CV is attached to show that Brian Colbert's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho, on November 13, 2022. That Brian Colbert's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. Then the most important part is the last paragraph, which is additional information as to Mr. Colbert's whereabouts as the early morning hours progressed, including additional analysis by Mr. Ray, will be provided once the state provides discovery requested and now subject to an upcoming motion to compel. If not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence for the corroborating Mr. Colbert's alibi was either not preserved on purpose or has been withheld. Brady violation.
Essentially pinging and registering his cell phone all over
His cell
that
phone?
night. And that's why they want to
Well,
say
I can tell you what, he did not have a cell phone. Okay, he may have had a cell phone, but he did not have a cell phone.
they ever get to trial, which will just say that the tower is essentially pinging and registering his cell phone all over that night. And that's why they want to say he has a past history of driving all around so that it doesn't look suspicious. But again, that's not an alibi in the traditional sense. And if he doesn't have anything else, guys, to offer, he won't be able to later offer it at trial. That was the whole point of doing this, to give the prosecution a chance to interview people, go do their own due diligence. So if he doesn't give anything else, he can't do it at trial. This is it.
So when is the trial? We keep waiting for the trial
date. We still don't have a date. Every time we hear there's going to be a court date, I come in, I say, maybe this is the day. Every time the judge keeps punting it and setting new.
God, you seem really, really invested in this case, and you run the Today Show.
Hearings, and we still don't know where this case is going to take place. The judge hasn't decided.
Wow. Well, I don't even know what to say. We're gonna round out with the last one. We're gonna see what let's see.
Weapon is of this crime, because a lot of people are like, where's the murder weapon? Where did it go? We've been covering this case. We've been seeing the affidavit of probable cause. We got key details that we did not previously know. Mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th. And thus...
Okay, if you guys could please drop JLR's link in chat. There's nobody that boots on the ground. Like I said, me and him could be on the opposite side of every single case, but I will always respect him and his work ethic. So this is my shout out to JLR, and let's see what JLR has to say.
Could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman Highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. That is the first time I've ever heard about Floyd's cannabis shop. I've never heard Floyd cannabis shop.
Me too. It was a
additional information as to Mr. Kohlberger's whereabouts compelled. If not disclosed, withheld. Okay. Signed today, Ann Taylor.
What you got, JLR?
Wow.
Come on with that.
So we are the affidavit of probable cause. We've seen it. If you guys haven't read or seen it, if you're new to the case, check it out. It lays down locations. They are saying in this, the way I'm saying it is, the way I'm reading it is, they're claiming he wasn't even in the state of Idaho. He was south of Pullman, Washington, and did not go east, more east than the Moscow-Pullman Highway. He didn't travel east. They're saying he traveled south. So what this is going to come down to, folks, is their experts saying cell phone towers and blah and technology and his phone. There's no way this guy here was in the state of Idaho when these crimes were committed. That's what they're going to do, folks. That's what they're going to do. They're saying he wasn't even in Idaho. Do you believe that alibi? Do you think that's a rock solid alibi? Do you think that's a legit alibi? Do you think the prosecution in this case will say that's not sufficient enough? He had a deadline. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to use the alibi defense at trial, if it goes to trial. People are saying, no. He says, and they said an entirely different state. Now, let me show you something, folks. Where is Wawai State Park? And I'm going to show you, because this one is also interesting, where they claim Kohlberger was. Because remember, folks, this crime, we have still not found, they still have not found, everybody, the murder weapon.
We need to get on it.
And people suspect a lot of things about this murder weapon. And if you could guess right now, where would you think the murder weapon is?
I don't think it's a K-bar. That's my answer right now. Anyways, give it a shout out. So I wanted to hear at least JLR, unbiased, fact-driven, read the whole damn article or read the whole motion. And again, me and JLR can be on the opposite side of any case. We're on the same side of a lot of cases in terms of how, we think or whatever. But respect is respect. And like he gets out there. You know what I mean? So.
And they're going to bring a guy, this guy right here. They're going to bring this guy right here. Cy Ray, founder of ZX Corporation. They're going to bring this guy in to partially corroborate that he most likely was not in the state of Idaho at all. Do you believe this alibi? According to this guy, Cy Ray is founder of ZX Corporation and lead RFN.
See, how can you got to appreciate that. Like, he's given you the facts, Again, he may have his opinions, but he is still reporting on it factually. And that's the difference. Like, you can have your opinions, but if it affects you and how you're going to report, that's like me saying, oh, I'm not going to read this because no. So anyways, I enjoyed my time pointing out the mainstream media. They couldn't even read the documents correctly. They're pushing a narrative. They are still pushing a narrative, and they are literally under the biggest microscope right now in this case, as far as trying to keep this case in Latah County. And it's just, it's wild. So, Cy Ray and his wife have their own YouTube channel. Do they? Oh, I hope they do. So, all right, again, guys, you guys rock. This is going to, this is going to wrap up the media. Again, tonight, join me late night. We are going to talk about $3.6 million. You guys know what $3.6 million means? $3.6 million. That is what's cost to date, right around. And I think there's a lot actually left out. So I'm gonna go like more towards like 3.9 million to 4.2 million to so far prosecute this case. Where are we going? So there is not a better way to deceive someone than to share truth mixed with lies. Ooh, it's pretty interesting. So I'm not sure if you guys know about that, but you guys know that? You're looking at $3.6 million. $3.6 million. So $3.6 million. 17 months. Now, how much for the investigation, though? Is this just after he was arrested? Or is this with the investigation of the 7 weeks? Did you guys know that? So 3.6 mil, it's in 17 months, but is this just after arrested? Or is this with the investigation of the 7 weeks? Now, who better to ask than the Idaho Statesman? So this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about this. So join me. Until then, peace out, Girl Scouts. Or did you guys want a little bit more? Did you guys want a tad bit more? Yes, I agree. And for all, I think that Brian or that JLR should give his opinion whenever the heck he wants, as long as you're going to state everything, you're stating it, you know. And then he always asks for other people's opinions. Comment in the section. Comment over here. Tell me what you think. You know, we always want more. Okay, well, Lana, show the traffic cam at the cannabis shop. Well, I can show you guys the cannabis shop. How about we just call the cannabis shop and ask them if they turned over any video? Ask them if Leslie Lehman came over and did they have to turn over any video? Floyd's cannabis. Floyd's cannabis shop, right? Pullman, Washington. Damn it. It's in Washington, technically. They see me rolling. So let's take a look at something. If we were to do like a file new, let's do new drive. New drive project. And if you went from Steptoe to then let me zoom in. I think another way that they're going to be able to eliminate some stuff is based on the times, you know, if there is any gaps, how he could possibly have gotten over to where he was, if he in fact was over at that park, you know. So how far is it from 1122 King to, let's see, 1122 King Road to Wawa Park. Oopsies, can't even. So let's see. There you go. It's like 43 minutes from the park to the house. Okay, so the big thing is that I was saying all along that all you got to do is show that the car over in WSU is not the car over in Moscow, because they're going to have to, I shouldn't even say that, you're going to have to show that. They're going to have to prove that. That's like that's their burden of proof, to show that the cars. Lana had the very famous traffic stop. What famous traffic stop was that? I have so much footage from when I was there. I still have to pull up. So it's on the prosecution to say, that Brian Koberger was in that car, and how you're gonna, do that. And you're saying that the car that was on the Floyd's cannabis. So that to easily process of elimination, let me tell you what that would mean. That means that this Floyd camera, based on my math, would be that the Floyd's camera either has it, X amount of time before the 3:27 a.m., or it's, yeah, that's the only way that would work. So let's do this then. I can't phone call. They're in Washington. Idaho's a one-party state. I don't break the law. Quit breaking the law, asshole. Ooh-wee. But let's go with this. Let's go to, I wanted to go to Floyd's from here. There we go. So give me my damn ruler, and I want to see, okay. Oh, this way. Give my ruler. Pick a point on the map. Okay. Other way, other way, other way. Okay, we're going to have to be on Airport Road, which is like this. Are we going the right way? Oh, yeah, we are. Okay, so let's see. You're looking at Steptoe, but you're coming up. So, like, it's here. Okay. No! There's no fucking way, man. I did an episode. Let me show you this episode I did. I did all the traffic cams. Brian Kober, how would he elude this traffic cam? Would be right here. Let me show you this. I'm going to show you guys something that I did. I did all the traffic cams. The only one they would have him on would be that one. There's no way. Come on. Let's see. I think it was from my, I just did a regular video. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look. Check it out. Looking at the cameras that are located in Moscow, Idaho, because of how important it seemed in the probable cause affidavit that the cameras were avoided. What I mean by that is it was really important for them to explain to us how Brian drove around, or AKA the perpetrator drove around. And what I realized is it's not just the residential cameras and the importance of getting this nailed down. It's because of the cameras that law enforcement uses for traffic and things of that nature. And with that said, when you actually punch in 511 is a website that you can go to, which I'm on here right now, and you can locate all the cameras,
Welcome, Gene.
traffic cams in Moscow, Idaho. And I was looking at all the possible different routes that one would have to take to be able to avoid all of these cameras. And would you believe it? That no wonder why you're talking about Brian coming from the 700 block of Indian Hills for the first time. You're taking this man, or whoever the perpetrator is, on a complete path to show that he avoided all of these cameras, that he knew about them and he avoided them. What it also shows to me is that you're saying that Brian shut his phone off. Okay, so this person had to be so well equipped with either knowing the area, memorizing it, knowing it, had drove it many times, or they had to have a different phone. They had to be able to have their route mapped out, knowing where to go, when to go, because in that probable cause affidavit, they are basically showing and explaining without saying it that, hey, none of our surveillance cams could get any of this. If you think about it, the only surveillance cameras that are not residential are the ones in Washington, in Pullman. And that's important. And we're going to talk about it. What I mean by that is the PCA, it uses, when you were talking about anything that has to do with sightings of the White Elantra in the Moscow area, it has to do with residential rings, whether they're, surveillance footage, but they're residential. Everything to map out the White Elantra. But when we're talking about other areas, I believe that they are using cameras that are non-residential. So my question is does it not alert you that if a car is going to make sure that it eludes all of the all of the commercial cameras, to include the traffic cams in Moscow, Idaho, wouldn't it do the same in Pullman, Washington? Wouldn't you avoid those cams? And it's interesting that you can use these cameras in Pullman to highlight this white Elantra. All right, so what I show here, I'm backing up right here. When you see like these little blue, like right here, that's a camera. Okay, so I went through, and this was back, like I said, 9 months ago. Right there, that's a great view right there. All right, look at this. This right here is the house. All right. Over here, Snyder Avenue. This is Troy. Okay. This is what was said to me, that they had him leaving out Troy. Okay. And that's not him, you guys. That's not him. And let's just like hypothetically say that it is him. I'm going to even like say this. Let's say that it is him. All right. How the fuck did he get in there? All right. And not get on and seen on any of these cameras. Okay. And you're going to tell me that he eluded these cameras with no phone on. He knew where he was going. Okay. But yet he is seen on the floor. Like this is on the Floyd camera, which would be way over here, coming down. But this is how you would go across to like get there if you're actually like going to just go the fastest way. But do you see this over here? Right there. This is over here. Steiner, right here is like your Indian Hill area. And right here is your cop police precinct. How does he get over here in the 700 block and not be seen on any of these cameras? You have to, right here. That's the camera that I think would have picked him up right here. So explain that to me. Explain to me how that traffic cam right there wouldn't be showing Brian Koberger coming in from, because you want to see where he was on Airport Road. Airport Road is that 5. It is where Floyd's is. So, but I did this 9 months ago. We went to the sites. We snagged up every single camera. Okay. I measured it down to a T because I said immediately when I saw that you're trying to say that Brian Koberger left at 2:47, okay, from WSU. So when I actually was there, we were timing different things. If you leave at 2:47 and you drive that to get over to, how come it took him 3:26 to be on the camera on Snyder from leaving at 2:42? Okay. No, it doesn't. It doesn't take you that long. So where did this white car go? Just like, where's those 9 minutes? Where are the 9 minutes that the car, why would Brian Koberger's car, and this is where I said, fucking A, it's two different white Elantras there. And I believe one of them, they're going to say is Brian's, and he was leaving and he went out. And that's why you have this 9-minute gap that another white Elantra is there seen on that same camera. And now you're trying to claim that that's him going to, at 2:52, going to, what do you call it? To Moscow. No. Because you're going to have to explain what the hell this white car was doing for those 9 minutes. Like, where did it just disappear to? And it didn't. I see how they operate with what they do now. And I guarantee you're going to hear a little something like, oh, 20 seconds is missing here. And I bet you it's the 20 seconds needed to show that the car, was, I'm telling you. But you have all these cameras. And you're going to sit here and tell me that none of these cameras have him. But see, I was told that they had him on Troy Road. And I said, prove it. I don't believe that they do have him on Troy Road. I don't believe that they have him on any of these cameras. And now I know that they don't, because I'm going to go with the expert that designs software and who's going to stamp and put his name to something like this, because why would you risk your career? I know I wouldn't. I'm not going to go lie for a killer, right? It's people that are in this field have integrity and they're just following the evidence. But all these cameras. And I said, by God, if it's Leslie, we're in trouble. Cameras, to include the traffic cams in Moscow, Idaho, have to travel in order to elude all of the cameras. And at the first time that you ever see this white Elantra, that it's on Indian Hills, 700 block. Again, Pullman, Washington, other areas, this big loop, I do believe that they're using traffic cams, residential or traffic cams mixed with commercial property cams. But when it comes to the movements in Moscow, Idaho, right there, that's it. Alleged white Elantra, it's only being seen by residential cameras. It is able to elude everything else. How is that possible? Well, you're basically telling me that Brian Koberger had this plan down to a T, but didn't plan for anything in Pullman? Come on now. And also, you're going to sit here and tell me that he was circling the house to be seen 4 times. Unfortunate that they didn't investigate this better. But you can't find any of your traffic cams to highlight this white Elantra because you say it takes some crazy way to get Okay, right there, right here. This is where he would have been traveling. There's that cam. You don't have his white car on this cam at that time that you would say that he's out there. To Moscow, Idaho, that the first time you see it is in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive. So I want to break down how one would have to travel in order to elude all of the cameras. And at the first time that you ever see this white Elantra, that it's on Indian Hills, 700 block. Again, Pullman, Washington, other areas, this big loop. I do believe that they're using traffic cams, residential or traffic cams mixed with commercial property cams. But when it comes to the movements in Moscow, I think it's really important that Ann Taylor mentioned that, Floyd's camera, because that's the connecting point. That's the camera that's connecting from being seen on WSU's campus to then being the one that's seen in Moscow. So, and that's why it was really big of her to put in the alibi, is because at that time that you say that he's doing, at the time that you're claiming that this is him on this Floyd cannabis, camera, it's like, well, no, it's not. And because our expert has Brian over here at that time, and he's going to break it on down. Also, I think that now that we know that stalking isn't on the table, that was a huge point of that was a huge part of the whole, the motive. So now you just took out the motive. Now we're taking out that this map that Payne made up in his head is gone. They just keep chopping away at all this stuff. And it's just no wonder why Billy Badass is taking so long to get all this shit. Like, just give it to us, Yeah, Mark B was over there too. Experts can tell when and what caused the internet disruption. Yeah, I'm just here for it. I'm here for it because, if he did do it, he should go to prison. And if he didn't do it, then he wasn't stalking them. So how did Brian Koberger pick them to just one day just want to go and kill them? He was so pissed about his vegan food that he got at Mad Greek. Oh, God. Yeah, that's 100%. This case was not investigated properly. Okay. Woo, 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 woo. And by the way, thank you guys. Been almost a baby. Woo, woo. War Eagle giving out those 5 memberships. Thank you. Michelle giving out those 5 memberships. LA giving out those 5 memberships. Everybody's turning green today. Welcome to the new member, Gene. And thank you for your work. You are amazing. Oh, you are just as amazing. Thank you. 13 months. Woo, woo. They built their case backwards from BK. And why do you think that they ever felt that they had to do it that way? I don't know. If they built their case backwards, from BK, it's like, oh. But they knew that they were going to have to do it that way from jump, is what's interesting. You know, Heather, I thought that too, but they went with working backwards so early on in the case that kind of that doesn't support that though. You know, when JLR was there, all he was talking about is the Idaho State Police being lined up with cars at Sigma Chi. Okay. And that's just for days. Yep. And let research what kind of car does BK drive, and let's tell the public that. There's a reason why the Quad City Dazzler Fest was up there. You know what I think is interesting is when you look at usually on the weekends when you do like you're gonna do undercover drug stuff and drinking and underage crap. You usually don't do it just one of the nights like Saturday. Like, why wasn't there any of the undercovers pulling and spying on people to pop out of the bushes and say, hey, I just saw you stumbling, I'm going to give you a ticket for underage consumption. Why wasn't there anything like that on Friday? I can't wait to see these guys clock in and clock out. I can't wait to see that these subpoenas that are going to be filed, the historical phone records of those undercovers. We're having a baby. I don't know when Scott Green found the time to write a book. If I go back to the investigation with this case, and when you go back and you think about what you know now, what you didn't know then, and you insert it into the little cracks and stuff, can you imagine you guys are all detectives on a case and I'm like leading it and I'm like, all right, guys, what do we have? Well, the lab came back and we were able to eliminate, because all these people were submitting their DNA. So we were able to eliminate all of these DNAs and match them up like these girls or these boys. And then here we came across these 3 known unknown male DNAs. And then we have the sheath. Okay. And why I would think that those 3 wouldn't be important, because at that time, I don't know if it would be 1 person or 2 or 3 or 4, because as they said, we don't even know that answer. So how come no work was being done on those other 3? How come you aren't bringing back in Bethany and Dylan and saying, okay, here's a list of everybody. Like, can you think of anybody that's been in your home that's not on this list of everybody that we've contacted? They've supplied DNA. You don't tell them that. You just give them a list and say, look through this list and tell us who can you add to this list that's, that's been at your home, that's not on this list. Again, I don't know where I don't know where these samples were found. They're married to this. They're married to the case with Brian Koberger that the perpetrator was in a vehicle. And so you go back and you look, and the vehicle has no blood on it. The apartment has nothing in it. His digital evidence, nothing ties him. He wasn't stalking these victims. So every time that Ann Taylor is saying, I have no idea how you came to, I have no idea how you came to our client. She wasn't blowing smoke of anybody's ass. He wasn't stalking anybody, yet we have people saying that out there. And then finally you have Bill Thompson saying, yeah, and you knew that that was a lie. And it's like, okay, so now we've eliminated that. And so that was the big thing that why Brian Koberger killed these people. He was stalking them. So now what is it? When did Brian Koberger come across them to even have any of these people on a radar where it was one person he was planning on killing, that 3 other people inadvertently were killed? You know who goes back on the chopping block, guys? I'm going to be the first one to say it. Ready? Hoodie guy. Not Jack D, not Hoodie guy. Hoodie guy is now back on the chopping block as far as I am concerned. Because guess who cleared Hoodie guy? Idaho State Police. When I found this out, that the Idaho State Police were the ones that actually communicated in some type of way and talked to Hoodie guy, I about fell over in my chair. That it was Hoodie guy was talked to by Idaho State Police. I almost died. Okay. Hoodie guy was talked to by Idaho State Police. Did you guys know that? I mean, now what detectives? Was it because, well, we're going to send somebody from the Idaho State Police to interview him because he's now at his parents' in Boise? It was, somebody was making such big commotion about wanting to have Hoodie guy has nothing to do with this, so we're going to go ahead and clear him. Who gives a flying fuck? You don't have to. Why are you saying that? How are you clearing somebody? You guys, they didn't have anything back. So what are you clearing? You know, because his DNA didn't match the sheath, the planted sheath. I mean, what cleared Hoodie guy? Remember, they were being chaperoned. Why would the girls, Kaylee and Maddie, talk to this guy and walk with him the whole way there? But as soon as they got to the grub truck, which they all knew was being recorded, everybody there that goes to school there knows that that's being recorded. The moment that they got to the grub truck, they had 0 interactions with Hoodie guy. Not even the point to say, hey, we're leaving. You know, we don't need a ride from you. Thanks. Anyways, appreciate it. Can somebody explain to me that nobody, like, they had to act, they didn't say a word to him, and nor did he say a word to them. I struggle with that. It was almost like they had to act like they're not there together. Why did he go there and not order anything? Because I could see, hey guys, I'm going down to the grub truck. I'll walk you guys down there. You guys could walk with me so you don't got to go by yourselves. Okay, great, because that's where I'm going, right? Or I parked over there because I bounced around and that's where I was parking. So hey, I'm parked that way, so I'll walk walk with me, which is safe. I'll walk you guys down there. That way you guys don't have to walk by yourself. So they walk together. That's what I think Steve means when he had, like, they had a chaperone. Like, that's what he's referring to that, hey, but then this is the part that doesn't make sense. Then why, if it was just to chaperone them to the grub truck and this guy's not going to order any food, is he not then getting in his vehicle to then leave? And if somebody wants to say, well, it was because he was going to give them a ride home, when they were done ordering their food. Okay. So then why would the girls call somebody else if they already had a ride? Do you guys understand that to me, all of that stuff is that stuff that has to be answered. Hoodie guy took his hat, changed it the other way, put his hood up and stood way in the back. Okay. He was waiting for them. He came down there with them. He waited for them. Then they just ran off. They had a ride, well, hey, if we call so-and-so to give us a ride, what? If we call him, he's got the hookup, he'll, you know, we can get some weed off of him or we can get some coke off of him. Think about why you would change. Like, if you had a ride, there'd have to be something last minute to say, I want to, you know, when you want to say, oh, they're, you know, they're going to, there would be a reason. If I had a ride, why am I switching up my ride? We have a ride. This guy's going to give us a ride. So I think it's important now to find out what time the girls hit up the private driver to ask, to say, hey, can you pick us up? Because I want to know what the plan was when you would have interviewed homie G hoodie guy. What was the plan? Was the plan for you just to walk them down there and make sure that they, you know, like, you're around all these people, I can leave. You know all these people. You're getting you're getting a ride, so I'm going to leave. Why am I standing back there? And then maybe he'll just say, yeah, I was just waiting until their ride did come and pick them up. And then they just ran off. I mean, they were pretty drunk. They just didn't tell me. And I was like, what the hell? I'm just standing here waiting. Just, you know, and that to me would make sense. Like, but there has to be some type of an explanation in terms of it. And then I would just ask questions like, here, when you look at this, it looks like, I mean, you guys didn't even talk to each other the whole time you're there. Why? You walked down the whole way talking to them. And then when you guys got there, you guys did not interact whatsoever. Why? And in fact, you turned your hat around, you put your hood up, and it looked like you were hiding from the camera. So, I mean, I think that those should be answered. Talk about you know how many X factors were going on that night? And then the best is when people say, well, if it wasn't Brian Kohlberger, then who was it? And I'm like, you guys weren't even saying the name Brian Kohlberger for 7 weeks. So go back to all the other names that you were throwing out there before. What do you mean if it wasn't Brian? Then who could it possibly be if it's not him? That's just like, that's the icing for me. Like, I'm like, God, man, to operate life in a brain like that, man. Yeah. Ooh, geez. So, again, I'm not saying that Brian Kohlberger is not. I'm saying that they just keep blowing up all these ends of getting to Brian Kohlberger. And the only thing that's going to be left standing, I think, is going to be the sheath that has this DNA on it. But nothing else. And that's why I think Jay Lawson says you want Brian Kohlberger to accept the fact that the FBI is just waltzing around with his DNA. Like, and they don't have to tell us, you know, how they got to him, how it was given. Here, go ahead, do your tree or whatever. And no custody. No, we don't have to know anything about that. We're just supposed to believe this. And I think that if the wounds don't match, and an Emmy can come in and talk about the fact that this looks like it's two different knives or two different murder weapons, and then thank you very much. Woo woo. When you want to talk about the totality of the evidence, let's just use their words. Totality, the totality. Well, the totality is literally being blown up literally in front of us. So when they want to say, oh, the totality, what's the totality here? Because I don't see any totalities now. I see one thing. Well, the totality of the investigation, and, you know, in the beginning, remember, they could not reveal the 911 call, nor could they talk about who the 911 caller was, because it was going to hinder this investigation. It was going to jeopardize the integrity of it. So they thought that releasing anything to do with that 911 call was going to jeopardize this case. And that's just really, really, that's always, I can't wait to hear about that, because I want to know why they felt that revealing this 911 call was going to put, or who made it, would jeopardize the integrity of this case. Thank you there. We know what you did. Lana, I am so glad you were bringing your skills to the case. Check out the unblurred body cam footage I have. It's an eye-opener as to who was aiding and abetting the perps. Absolutely. Thank you. We know what you did. We know what you did last summer. You know, I think this... So come on, guys. Totality. The fuck totality are you talking about? There is no totality here. And I know how ISP interviews people. They ask them, they interview them once, and then they don't go back and talk to them a second time. And they have tunnel vision. And then when they're told to do things, they don't go and do it. The place sheath at that, yeah. So where's this totality at? No totality? I don't see totality of this. I see it's a complex case. I think anytime there be 4 dead persons at the same place, it's going to be complex. We know what you did. What is the name of the video? Yes, thank you for asking that. Also, I want to talk about that they had to go back. They processed the scene not once, but twice. Okay, so I think that's going to come up. Is that's going to be interesting of what they got the second time around. Okay. Let's see what else I think. Because now you guys want to be honest, you should be going back to the drawing board and looking at what we had back then, because if we went true, if you guys are about the victims, then somebody murdered 4 people. Or someone's. I still don't see what the totality here is. It was all circumstantial to begin with. So, wait a second. When you actually look then at the probable cause for the arrest of Brian Kohberger, and you take out all of that mapping that Payne did, and then you take out Who's putting it out there that Brian Kohberger bought in Pennsylvania that knife? Oh man, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Ann Taylor is going to expose so much shit. This is really, really bad. If they thought this was just going to cost them like $5 million, this is going to cost them $30 million. You understand what it was like to hear that, hey, we need more evidence. We need, to keep building a case against Brian Kohberger. Why? Because y'all had nothing. You guys had nothing. And then I'm being hit up in emails saying that this woman doesn't want to come forward because she's scared, but we need to push her story. What fucking story? Oh, that BK stalked her. And that BK sat out there and would get on her Wi-Fi and look at her and has her nudes. Why would that, BK, Bill Thompson just told the world that he didn't stalk them. But you want to get out there and push a narrative that he stalked his neighbor because his neighbor came to him and said, hey, you need to install cameras? We don't even know if that's true. Where has this person spoke out anywhere? It's just really frustrating. Because I believe I have a lot of talents I could help. I could be reaching, and I never played softball, but in my opinion, it looks like Rosie and one of the guys on Banfield use baseball signs to communicate. I just say, go look at that Banfield or the Linda Lane. It looks like there's flashlights back there. So explain that to me on Linda Lane. It looks like there's flashlights back there. And people can say, Lana, no, it's fucking bugs or some shit like that. And no, it's not bugs. It's fucking November. Bugs, man. Yeah. This whole thing about that he was on Wi-Fi, that needs to stop. Like this, it's not there. Or get out there and tell the world who gave it to you, who told you this. And I think it was Bill Thompson. I think Bill Thompson told this to Steve Gonsalves. It was Bill Thompson or it was Brett Payne. If it's not coming from law enforcement, where would you get this from? And then there's this footage that... Okay. You guys do know that Ring cameras last up to 6 months, sometimes a year. So this is what I said. I said, okay, go look back on all the dates that you say that you think Brian Koberger was over in that area. Go get the Ring cameras of anybody that's over there in that house area and go look at the other dates. Forget about the November, the 12th and the 13th. Forget about that day and forget about those 2 days. What are these other dates that he was in the area pinging on a tower? Okay, we're going to sit down with the 1112 people, sit there and say, hey guys, can we have all of your camera footage from these dates? Sure. Or you go subpoena them, okay? You go through those, and you're telling me that none of that would come back and because according to Payne and Blaker, in my experience, the night of the murder, you may not bring your phone, you may leave it somewhere, you may turn it off to conceal your whereabouts. But guess what? When you are trying to case the place, you will forget about that and you will bring your shit anyways, right? And so that's why we wanted the historical data. So then you go and you get the historical data and it gives you these days that he was there on those 12 occasions. Then you go and you sit down or you just go and yank and subpoena and search warrant, whatever you want to do. Get the fucking camera rings from all that area because rings stay for a longer time. And then when you would have that, look at those days and then see if you can find Brian Koberger. So that each time that you say that he's pinging in that area, it was each time that he came there. And guess what? They tried to do that. They tried to do that because in the probable cause, it says that we tried to aid in our efforts to try to corroborate that Brian Koberger was surveying them, stalking them. But most importantly, they wanted his phone records to see who Brian was talking to that was an associate of one of them. And it yielded nothing. Nothing came back. Do you understand how extensive that you tried to nail this man in every facet and area? We'll try to get him this way. We'll try to get this way. And nothing came back. And you guys aren't looking at each other like, fuck. He's just that good. Okay. No. You guys are just that bad. No one's that good in 2024. Not with everything that we have. Nope. You guys are just that bad. And I think somebody would have messed with shit or acted like, oh, this camera was already wrote over before we could get to it type of shit. Meanwhile, they just said that because God And I thought that was a rumor going around that the Gonzalezes were pissed that law enforcement didn't get to a video that was already wrote over. If that comes out, I want to know who was the fuck up behind that, because if it is Leslie, I am telling you, she's done that before. She's queen. Wish you could open up the phone lines. I can't open up the phone lines. Here you go. Come on down. State your piece. Go ham. There you go. I just don't see any totalities here. I don't see the totality leading to Bryan Kohberger. That's my issue. I see that you got one thing and it looks like it's planted. That's what you got. And Brian would have been on someone's radar in the beginning. Brian, you would have picked somebody, Mr. Lux.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Lena.
What's up?
First of all, how are you?
I'm good.
Let me not be rude. Lena, oh my God. Remember our last conversation? I don't know if you remember our last conversation. I said,
I don't have amnesia, so I hope so.
I said, are these FBI agent people, the data people, are there speds? Because I told you I can turn off my phone, and I don't even think that's what happened, but I'm telling you that I can turn off my phone. And I can find my phone. It tells me I can find my phone when it's dead. So I can't believe the guy that remember I told you, Ann Taylor. People are saying Ann Taylor's doing a bad job. I'm like, Ann Taylor's brilliant. I can't believe she went and found this guy. This guy is probably the expert, the best person in data and phone data in America. How you in the world?
And he's pro prosecution all day, every day.
Lena, this guy, they used this guy to find bin Laden. They used it. Oh my God. I thought this was who Bill Thompson was gonna get. I swear to God. I thought this was who Bill Thompson was gonna get, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? What can you do? No.
You know, I'm over here just like, they just keep stabbing and like gutting everything that has been thrown at Bryan Kohberger, and then you have, I don't know what these people are watching and listening to or reading or hearing or whatever, but then you have mainstream media that's out there. It's like, did you just read the same document that I read?
Lena, I watched the last live. I was shocked. I went back and watched I only caught the middle of the live, and I went and watched the entire thing because you know you're brilliant, of course. But
I appreciate that.
Like, I can't believe this. You know how they said the car would be a treasure trove? No.
Yeah.
Ann Taylor's sitting on a treasure trove of evidence, and she's not even exposing anything yet. She's saying, give me more of my evidence that I need, that I'm requesting, because I'm going to expose more things later.
Yeah.
Did you see what she said?
Yeah. And the best part about it, I think that really is there, is that it's like, we've been asking for this. And you haven't given it to us.
She said in the document, when you provide the rest of the evidence, and if you cannot provide it, that means that you withheld or you purposely did not retrieve certain evidence that you're supposed to do as your job. That's insane. I can't believe this. I mean, I went back, Lena. I went back and watched Daniel's live, and I wanted to see what he was gonna say. I wanted to see his face, and I swear to God, he tried to go around the whole story, try to muddle up the whole story. I'm like, come on, everyone in the live is telling him, come on, be honest. This guy did not do this. He tried to muddle up everything that they said in the PCA. He didn't even mention the guy's background. He didn't even want to talk about the guy's background. His background is so extensive. You want to tell me they just pick somebody off the street to come and do this? Come on, man. It's unbelievable. But Lena, I'm just driving home from work. I'm on the phone. I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to get pulled over. I just wanted to come in and just tell you, I can't believe this. I can't believe who Ann Taylor.
That's fireworks.
This had Ann Taylor was a public defender? No. Mm-hmm. You can get Ann Taylor. What was OJ's and I'm not even gonna say RIP, but what was the OJ's lawyer? What was his name?
Which one? Johnny Cochran?
Johnny Cochran. No. Do Johnny Cochran's job. I thought I always thought she was brilliant. When people try to say, "Oh, she's a public defender, she's this and that and the third," no, that lady's brilliant. You guys need to show her some respect. She is brilliant, and she's a public defender, but she's brilliant. All right, all right, Lena, you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, why don't you put some of these
Take care. All right, bye bye.
What's up, Brian is Rambling? What do you think? What do you got?
Hi, Miss Lana. I feel like I'm on backstage with a superstar. I'm so excited. Look out, look out.
What do you think? Oh, thank you.
What I want to know, I truly, these people are such idiots. I really think they honestly do not have anything else to turn over because they didn't document shit. They thought that they would continue with their stupid stuff. They got away with the Stickergate stuff for over a year. They don't do no report. What happens if there is no cast? What happens if it is absolutely true? There is nothing else to turn over because the idiots didn't document it. Then what happens?
Well, I don't know if they just thought that Brian Koberger was going to lay down and not fight this and just take the plea deal or whatever. But this is clearly going the length. This is going to go the distance. And I just don't think that they have it. And I think that when the only thing that's going to be standing, if it even is going to be admissible, is that sheath. I think that it's going to stick out like a sore thumb if there's nothing else to stand with that. But I mean, it just keeps coming out. This was a totality of an investigation. So when you take everything, totality is all I kept hearing. And all I see right now is that these dominoes just keep going down. And I think that this guy who's going to be testifying to this alibi, which is, hey, it's digital evidence putting Brian Koberger over here, not over there by some 2-year, patrol cop, I think that's, I don't know. I think that just speaks for itself.
You really think that it will get to court? I don't even think it could make it to trial. Even this judge, I just don't think.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that I think it's going to make it to trial is because you see the Karen Reed case. How did the Karen Reed case make it to trial?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's gonna cost Idaho a shit ton of money because, I mean, this is a death penalty case, and I mean, you guys see how many motions are being filed, and I just think that this is not going to trial anytime soon because the only people that are delaying this, it's actually not the defense, it's the prosecution.
Yeah, well, I've never heard of anybody, including a judge, just like blowing off 15 requests for discovery. I kind of thought that was just how you play the game, and that wasn't up for debate, which is now as we go and go and go. I go back to when Santa Claus was standing up in the courtroom, and it was a back shot. We had a back of him standing up in his gray hair, and he just said, "We don't have anything else to give them, Your Honor." And I'm like, wow, this could be totally the truth. They really didn't do it. They go on welfare checks and they don't document anything. So it's like these people don't do that. So now, though, how does Ann defend Brian if there's no cast and there's nothing to really do? That's what I'm wondering. I don't think it'll make the trial.
I think. Yeah, I did. Thank you. I think that Brian. Thank you. I think that she's going to defend Brian Koberger going reasonable doubt. She has this alibi that puts him somewhere else, and then she's just going to show all the shoddy police work and poke holes at the entire thing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just get down, but I just thought it was.
Well, Brian, you're awesome. Thank you for coming up.
I thank you for chatting with me and keep up your good work. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. Hit the link again, okay, buddy?
Okay, be good.
Okay, you too. Bye, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Aw, I love all the callers. What is good, Sarah? You're up.
Hey, what's going on?
About to make some ramen. What's up?
Well, mac and cheese over here. So
mac and cheese, ramen, you name it. Chicken, ramen, tater tots.
Right. So you find anything else more about that wanted to know about front license plates on the 14th. Pretty wild, I thought. Oh,
Oh, sorry, my microphone was muted.
it's okay. I was like, oh God, I offended everyone. Okay.
No, that was me. I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Oh, I was just saying, did you find anything else out about the front license plate being displayed? That question about the front license plates on the 14th.
No, they just the only thing I know about that is they were just saying that they couldn't identify the car, and so therefore they just there was no identifying mark, meaning AKA a license plate. But that's all I know about that.
Even the inquiry to the Whitman County Sheriff's Office, like somebody asking about wanting to get other help for other laws.
Yeah, okay, about that. No, I haven't heard anything more about that. Do you know anything more about that?
Not that I mean, you always get the classic, this is an active investigation. This is an active, what, but that, to me, that says, so this does have something to do with an active investigation. I'm like, because I didn't even put in my, request as well, like anything about that. I just was like, I want to know what this is. I'd like to get this. And they were just like, it's an active investigation. And I was like,
Okay.
excuse me?
The only thing that I did is I turned that over to the defense in an email.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
know that Idaho knows who I am right now, literally. When you're getting responses from the prosecutors of the different counties versus just the administrative worker, you know that you've made a name for yourself. Oh, there's Lana on that asking these, FOIA requests, but I give props to all the people that work and do that and answer those questions. But I think my name has been flagged to say that, people higher up are definitely the ones that are dealing with stuff that I'm putting in. I'm giving them, I'm getting, before I used to get just the simple thing is, because I started appealing some of these and I started using some case law behind these appeals. Because like you just said, okay, it's an open active investigation. Okay. Do you have jurisdiction over the open and active investigation? Is it your case? Because what I'm starting to go with is that if it has anything to do with something in the Brian Kober case, all of that stuff would be in the custody of actually Moscow Police Department. So I'm trying to go the route of, if these are active and open investigations, are these active and open investigations that you actually have jurisdiction over? So that's my new thing that I'm doing right now.
That's really wise, really smart.
Yeah.
And
because technically,
yeah.
Technically, if it has to do with the case of Brian Kober, they don't have jurisdiction. And so they wouldn't have custody of the files. And so how that you should be answering that is that we don't have, that's not in our custody. So if it has anything to with Brian Kober, it shouldn't be files that would be, when you're surrendering that stuff, it's no longer in our custody. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that
makes a lot of sense.
I'm trying. That's because I'm trying to get around ways to like, I'm trying to find out if there was a fight that night.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really interesting that people want to start talking about this all of a sudden, this fight.
Well, I remember that kind of back in the days after it happened, and there was this reports of I think one of the headlines was, did a fight at the grub truck begin what happened, on the night of November 13th? I believe it was the Daily Mail or Inside Edition or something like that. Talked about
If Bethany had eyes on Xana and Ethan, and she was interviewed right away, and she said right off the bat, and had no qualms and explained the story, why ever they would need to go back and, all right, we need to, and they put it out there, we're re-looking into Ethan and Xana and their whereabouts that night and like just their movements. So if Bethany is the one that's putting them, where they were at, because if you read the probable cause, that's coming from Bethany. So I'm just interested. I've always been interested in to see that, because that's something that was reopened in terms of they wanted to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, they focused on that 4 hours or that missing time, quote, missing time of Ethan and Xana for a long time in the 7 weeks. I just seemed like they were really, really focusing on that, in my opinion, for a while, about where was Ethan and Xana? Where was Ethan and Xana? And yeah, that just caught my attention. That all of a sudden now it didn't matter about those 4 hours, quote, and all of a sudden kind of sarcastically saying that, like all of a sudden that didn't seem to matter anymore. It's like everybody, they wanted so badly to know about those 4 hours. It seemed like for a long time.
Sorry, I'm here. I got you in my ears and I was running all over to make sure that my ramen noodle was perfect.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Okay. Oh, did you get muted again? I think I lost you again.
Sorry, you actually remind me. I'm gonna double check on the front plate thing again. I'll double back around that. So thank you for reminding me about
I'm just
that.
really curious because that was just like the day after, and it was just really, of all things, just another department to be asking for. Yeah, that was just really odd.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna go to Brandon here. You keep rocking, Sarah. I love your emails. Don't stop sending emails. That goes for anybody out there. We actually do look at them, read them. So
thanks again, Lana. Thanks for
but
all
you're
your
the,
work.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
you're one of the rock stars there, Sarah. So keep doing what you're doing, okay, hon? And thank you
All
so
right, will
much.
do. Yeah, I
Okay,
sent
babe.
you some more last night, so have a good
I
one.
know I was reading that stuff about the Riley stuff. It was interesting, that recording. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Take care, hon. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, sweetheart. Love her. She digs deep. She's a good girl. What is up, Brandon? How are you?
I'm good. Just at lunch on work.
Oh, see?
And yeah. See, I just got my food heated up, but hey, I've been following you since probably laundry case.
Okay.
But yeah, I've subscribed. I've been a subscriber since then, but probably only been a member for about a month now.
Oh, well,
But
welcome to the home team.
yeah, I enjoy getting all the information that you give. And me and my wife, we have our discussions on a regular. She is that
Oh,
he
this
is, yeah. In this case particularly,
dinner talk.
she is all about he is guilty. He is guilty. There's too much against him, and I'm like, there's no evidential proof. They
I love
have
hearing
not
this from
shown
guys.
anything.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking about? He was in the area. I'm like, there's no evidential proof. It's all hearsay. It's all
Yeah.
and then the more you pull out, and I'm like, she's sitting here pulling out these pages on this chiropractor's case. I think that's the Drake case, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I'm like, she pulls out these and she's got affirmation from the community or whatever that you posted last week about how they affirmed what your information was and how you proved some stuff correct. And I was like, and she's putting it out there. Like, I think, there's not enough time for one person in my mind to do what was done.
You know what? I've heard that from people that are
it's-
specialists. Like,
it's
I've heard that
like-
from people that are specialists. And like,
there's more than one person that was involved in this. Has to be.
Yeah.
And there's just, and then now, you're getting the best of the best to say He wasn't there. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, Ann Taylor snatched up literally, like, this would be somebody that would be testifying on behalf of usually the prosecution. So for someone like, Santa, and here to see that not only is he going to testify to what he already has, but he's saying, Ann, there should still be X, Y, and Z. You need to ask them for this, this, and this, and they need to give it to us so that I can do X, Y, and Z. And then she's asked for it, and there's times that I believe that Bill Thompson's saying what she's asking for does not exist. What she's asking for does not exist. And then he's coming back at her and saying, okay, let me tell you how this works. And so he's breaking it down. This expert is breaking down this digital stuff to say, okay, this is the information that would have been pulled in this search warrant because they got it approved to have X, Y, and Z. So where is this? And if they didn't preserve it because they knew what it would lead to, so that's why they didn't do it, or they are hiding it. So either way you slice and dice it, you either have a Brady violation on your hands if you don't cough that up, or this guy is going to be able to show what you didn't preserve, and that it either is going to show that you are inept or that you did it purposefully. But in this evidence, if you would have done, if you would have done this, would have shown that it would have shown more. It would have cooperated more, even more. And so what I think is truly interesting, if you want to nail somebody, you'd want to get them every which way possible. So why wouldn't you be pulling everything you possibly could on Brian Koberger's devices?
And then when you're saying that you're saying that the police have worked backwards in this, now that the house has been destroyed because the university didn't want the house there anymore, what are they going to use when and if? We'll just say when and if, because innocence is proven guilty, and I'm constantly, he's innocent until proven guilty. So when his innocence is proven, what are you going to do? What are you going to use as far as evidential fact to go back?
I think that they're fine. I think that they're fine with that. In terms of, I don't even like. No one really truly goes and. Are you talking about for the prosecution to go back and be able to bring charges up on somebody else?
Yeah, they're going to have to restart the whole investigation.
All the stuff is there. They're just choosing to be tunnel vision with it. Everything that has to do with that house, because it's not like I'm not concerned with that. Just because I know with all because of what they have.
The many different, because there's two different.
Like that's like me saying, okay, this is what would suck. In the Brian Drake case, for example, okay, they let Jennifer Drake have. Well, first of all, they did not take the glass, the shooting, the glass that was shot through. They didn't take the glass into evidence. They didn't take the stool that this man was sitting on to see how tall it was, to be able to do measurement.
They moved stuff to be able to
take pictures,
depict where it came from or how it traveled, or what occurred. Yeah, so they didn't do their investigation properly.
They didn't take his knee brace. Okay, so it's things like that. And so when I look at compared to that case, so then there was an open and an active investigation in a crime scene, and they are taking stuff out of the house and giving them all of the pictures. So how I was able to show that happened in the Brian Drake cases, all the drone footage that started from the beginning of that day when they got there, and then all the pictures in sequential order. Okay, you'd be amazed at what you can find when they want to say that, oh, only this officer and that officer was here. I'm able to pull up this drone footage and say, no, look at his car was there. His car was there. So the people that you were trying to say were only there, or there he is right there. He's coming out of the house. He's doing this. He's at the post there. So I believe that the material is going to be there for somebody to pick apart and to build the case. It's just going to be a matter of I don't believe that they will ever try anybody for this case if they don't get Brian Koberger. That's who they're going with. That's what they're putting all their eggs in. There is going to be none of this letting Brian Koberger go and then we're arresting other people. You rarely never see that, and it's because that's just not going to happen. And so it's either Brian,
let somebody be running around free or a multiple amount of people running around free.
Yeah, because Idaho's a bunch of pussies anyways.
I had a thought, because in one of your videos there was the creeper police officer, that said, "I'll never leave till you come out. I'll never leave till you come out. You effing blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah." It just kept running.
The only
on
people that were
camera. I was
casing
like,
that, the only people
Like,
that were
dude.
casing that house was the police.
The Popes. Come on now. Like they got so tired of being called to this place that was it you know, you never know, right?
And I think if I'm Ann Taylor, I want to call to the stand the woman that would kept on calling in the noise complaints, you know? So, because
Well,
she was in it.
I'm gonna jump down and go ahead and eat my food because
Oh, good.
I
Me
don't want to
too.
be chowing
Thank you
down
so much,
on.
Brandon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
I enjoyed it.
Tell your wife that we're gonna bring her over to the common sense side. Just tell her Lana said that, okay?
Thank you for everything you do, Lon.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Okay. Oh, see, you guys, I could talk to you guys all day. And just for the record, the reason I like to do the 1v1 versus like panels is because I like to engage with you and people screaming up. No, this is, you call in, you say what you think, how you feel, make yourself be known, and I get to hear it and I get to talk back, and it's like a normal conversation. But you guys all rock. I'm gonna be back a little bit later because I want to break down some of this financial stuff. Because it's only going to continue to grow. So thank you, moderators. The link will be dropped tonight. I need to preserve my voice. And I kind of want to touch on what Brandon was saying about, you know, them wrecking the house. What I'm gonna show you the drone footage on how ISP preserves, how they attempt to preserve things through their drones out and around, and then inside all the pictures and how they take pictures. I'm going to show that. I'm going to take out anything that I think is, you know, that I shouldn't show. But I want you guys to see the aerial stuff that they do. I want you guys to see how the way they're using these drones and the stills that they're taking. You then can zoom in and you're going to be able to see what car is where and who's like. It's actually just really cool. And then it's just like, then just do the work to like just investigate it, man. And you know what's gonna suck? You know what would be the worst thing is if Brian Kohberger did do it and you guys did all of this and screw it up and a killer goes free. That's disgusting. It's disgusting. That's just as bad as going after somebody that you know damn well didn't do it. So, but I appreciate all of you guys. You guys rock. Please check out. I'm trying to get. I wanna talk to the Idaho Statesman, Mr. Fixler. You got to give credit where credit's due, and like I said, I can disagree with anybody all day, but respect your work, respect the industry that you're in, and they took a lot of time to go after the documents. I know that it's not all the documents because they are holding back stuff, but the numbers are coming to light because of the work the Idaho Statesman did. But I want to ask him what his motivation was for it. I'm curious on the motivation. I'm curious as to know, is it just to notify the taxpayers that, hey, this is a case that we're paying on both sides, you know, because it's a public defender. And so I'm curious. All right, guys, I'll see you guys tonight. Have a good night, or have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you later. Again, thank you guys that super chatted and new memberships. Thank you for your work on this case. We know what you did. I'm going to check out that video. Lana, you're the best. Thank you for all your hard work. Love you, Jen. All right, guys, see you soon.